5 deadline live stream. Hope everybody is doing well on this wonderful Friday. Remember, it is a Friday deadline, 6:30 p.m. UK time. So if you stumbled upon this stream and you're wondering why the bloody hell are you live, it's because it is a Friday deadline. So you cannot be missing the deadline, especially now that you have been warned. So if you want to tell your mini league rivals, go do it. I, for one, would keep this information to yourself because I can guarantee you some people will not know that it's a Friday deadline. So you've already got a little bit of an edge on those people. But guys, let me know in the chat, how are you doing? Where are you tuning in from in the world? It'd be awesome to see what everybody is up to on this lovely Friday. Or maybe it's another day wherever you are in the world right now. Maybe over in Australia, you might have gone into Saturday. I'm not too sure. But yes, guys, let me know in the chat. Where are you tuning in from? What are your plans going into this game week 25 deadline? For me, I got 2 transfers and I haven't made a move yet. I've been stressing about it all week. I've been a little bit under the weather. I've been ill. So I've been crashing at night, falling asleep before the price changes. And I wake up and there have been a whole batch of changes. So hopefully we are not priced out of some moves. And hopefully on this stream, we can get everything sorted out to at least mainly focus on answering your questions, but I will have a little bit of a section on my own team because I'm going to be honest, I have to sort my own team out as well, but that might actually provide some value to you guys as well. So that's the hope anyway. If it isn't, tell me in the chat to do one and I will try and resolve all those issues. Ollie, hope you're doing well, mate. Good to have the live streams back. Yeah, I think I missed the last one, but I'm back. Hopefully for the majority now between now and the end of the season. For captaincy this week, who would you go for out of Bruno, Enzo and maybe JP? We'll cover off captaincy in a minute. Hopefully try and go through the best captain for you guys to go for. Any info on what it takes for teams to blank a double so I start planning for them? Yeah, so for those that don't know, and again we will come on to it, double game week 26 is official. Blank game week 31 is also official, but only for 2 teams at the time of recording. Hello, Hugo. Hope you're doing well. Mortal Technique, as always, my friend. Vikra from Singapore. That's amazing. Brian, as always, mate. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Hello from Ethiopia. Jonah, hey, Nacho. Hope you are well. Start Krupi or Cash. Wow. We have to remember that Aston Villa do have an away game against Bournemouth where I would anticipate them actually to concede. I spoke about this in a previous video of Aston Villa where Villa are very much a team that are midfield focused. The way that they get serious results is because of the combination that they have in their midfields. Kamara, Onana, Tielemans, Rodgers, Buendia at times. The midfield is the absolute engine in that Villa team. They're not built on the defence. They're not necessarily built on their attack. It's that midfield. And when you take key components out like Tielemans and Kamara, I am slightly concerned that we are going to see a drop-off in Aston Villa in general for this title run. They need these players back ASAP. So while I think Cash is fine, I think I'll lean towards Krupi right now, to be honest with you. Thiago or Krupi Jr. to start, it probably would be this week. Realistically, Thiago being on penalties is a big factor. I know they got Newcastle, which is a tough place, but they were poor against Man City. I personally, of those two, would lean towards the penalty taker in Thiago, and it's only typical that I've got the hiccups right now, which is a nightmare. So I'm just going to try and chug this. Someone in the chat, if you know how to get rid of hiccups, please let me know. I have absolutely no idea. Let's just try like... Okay. Somehow that's got rid of my hiccups. So we're gonna hope that's gone. Brian tuned in from USA. Of course you are, mate. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully these deadlines are... Hold your breath, Brian said. Yes, I kind of drunk and held my breath, and maybe I've come onto something that people didn't realise, but they're gone. They're gone. Awesome. Python Loader, hope you're feeling better. Not any better, but I am dosed up on copious amounts of Lemsip, so hopefully we will be fine for this stream. Kefs is saying, hey, would you start Donnarumma or Dubravka? So, reminder, Man City got their game, of course, against Liverpool. Not ideal at all. Burnley, on the other hand, have got a home game against West Ham. Very easy that I would go for Dubravka in that scenario. Also bench 2 of Goodmanson, who Leeds have got a decent game tonight against Nottingham Forest. Evan Nielsen, Rodgers or Richards. Greetings from Estonia. Hope we're doing well. So, again, With this one right now, West Ham are on a bit of an up, but I still back Leeds at home, especially on a Friday night. Just got that feeling about it. So I probably would say benching of the two, you can't bench Rodgers. You just simply can't. So I think I would be benching Richards quite comfortably. And then it comes down to Evan Nielsen versus Goodmanson. And I think I always lean towards the attacker, even though I think Goodmanson is fine for this week. So I probably would bench Goodmanson and Richards, but that's only because I prefer the attackers. Jerry, hope you're well, mate. On a bus on the M6. Oh, wow. 3 free transfers. Thinking of bringing in Ekitike, Rice and a Virgil replacement, or is he worth keeping? So a Virgil replacement, I really don't like Virgil this week, but in terms of the alternatives available, let me know what price range you have got, because if you are in a position where Rice is your third Arsenal pick, then I also am not going to sit here and say buy an Arsenal player because you already got 3. And I don't really love a lot of the alternatives. Chalobah is one, and it's worth noting, I am currently looking at defensive options for myself in game week 25, so it might provide some value in a bit. But yeah, I think, let me know who you'll be selling if you are bringing Ekitike and Rice. That would be quite interesting to know. Redium said, hey man, just for fun, I want to try go against Rice, which is absolutely fine, by the way. Would you choose Trossard or Madueke? I already have Timber plus Gabriel. Thanks. Okay, so look, this is a really difficult one right now because I have been looking at alternatives to Declan Rice to get a bit of an understanding of who that actual player could be. So if we take a look at Arsenal right now in terms of the attackers, we currently got Trossard at 6.8 million. His minutes have been pretty much no 90 minutes apart from game week 19. Also, the returns have been pretty bleak of late. I mean, it's been nothing since game week 19 effectively. So there hasn't really been much joy for Trossard, and I think you have to buy him knowing that you are buying a rotation risk, 100%. Do I think he'll start? Yes. Do I think he could easily come off at times? Yes, 100%. So if you are going against Rice, and I get it, you want to have a bit of fun, you got to understand that you are basically buying somebody who is not going to play all the minutes. And then is that fun? I don't know if it is. In terms of Madueke, again, his minutes are just all over the place. And yes, he puts up okay numbers when he does start. But is there enough for me to sit here right now and say to you, pay 0.7 million less and get Madueke over Rice? I just personally don't think so. But again, I might be wrong there. Scott, a super chat here. Apologies, mate. I've just missed that one. So hopefully I can help you out on this one. And again, mate, far too generous with these super chats. You are regular on these streams and with the super chat. So thank you so much, mate, for that. So your situation right now is Kelleher in goal. And again, I'll just put the fixtures up for people just to remind them of the scenario. So we got Kelleher in goal with that away game against Newcastle. Not ideal. Then we got Gabriel, Timber, Richards as a back 3. That looks good. Again, for those that missed it, Timber has been past fit for this weekend. So him not being pictured in training was not ideal. But with Arteta coming out and saying that he is available, take it as you want. But I personally think he is going to be available for this weekend. Enzo, Semenyo, Rice, Fernandes, which I'm going to guess is Bruno Fernandes, and then a front 3 of Pedro, Thiago and Haaland. A bench of Dubravka, which I would make the argument there is actually a case to start him over Kelleher. I think there is. Harry Wilson with that home game against Everton, which is very difficult to bench. Van der Ven with their fixture, again, tricky enough fixture against Man United. I think that's fair to bench. And Dorgu, of course, injured. 1 free transfer. So again, you're in a position right now where you've got your triple Arsenal, which is great in preparation. When we look at the fixtures for this week, you've already got Bruno Fernandes. I don't think you need to rip up your team to bring in anybody else based on the money you've got available and also the team structure. Do I think that Liverpool will concede? Yes. I don't think you have to sell Semenyo. Again, if you wanted to sell Semenyo, it probably would be somebody like an Mbeumo, but you don't have the funds in order to do that. Thiago at front, I don't think you need to sell him because once again, he's going to be a player that suddenly becomes a great option. So selling him doesn't make a lot of sense. So really, I think with triple Arsenal already in your team, it's not really a case of who do I transfer in. It's more of a case of making sure you got the best 11. I think Dubravka versus Kelleher is really close. And I'd always favour the home game as opposed to an away game. So I'd be quite tempted to go for Dubravka over Kelleher, personally. But then really it's Harry Wilson versus the other players in your team. I would start Enzo over him. I would start Rice. I would start Bruno Fernandes. I would start Pedro. So really it comes down to Semenyo, Thiago or Wilson to start. And of course, Thiago away against Newcastle, who played midweek, actually could be quite a good fixture. But that's a really close one. I think Thiago being on penalties and Newcastle looking quite poor in general, I think I do agree with your team. And I would definitely roll the transfer myself. Whenever you've got a benching headache, that kind of answers your question that, well, my team's good, so I don't need to make a transfer. So for that, I'm probably going to say, roll the transfer and stick to what you've got. But I will say this, Dubravka over Kelleher is the one change that I definitely would make. And I would hope that Burnley do keep West Ham at bay. Because I do think Newcastle will score against Brentford. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, mate, on that one. Scott said, hold your breath for the hiccups. Thank you. I think we have resolved it. Thank God. So, let me just show you guys where I'm at in terms of my team right now and the current scenario. So, I've got 2 free transfers, 0 in the bank. And for those that missed the news, we have got the double game week for Arsenal. So, let's just get the fixtures up a minute for you. So, why am I so small on the screen? What the hell? Hang on. Let me just get me a bit bigger. I'm tiny. There we go, perfect. Honestly, imagine if I just stream like this. I might just do it like this from now on and just get the full maximization of the screen. No, let's get me a little bit bigger. Look, we're not here for me, but it also looks really weird if I'm like this, doesn't it? So let's put me up like this and we'll get a part of me and the rest of the screen. So in terms of the fixtures, for those that didn't know, we have got double game week 26, and then we got blank game week 31. The reason why Man City are not doubling in game week 26 is because of basically Crystal Palace's involvement in the Conference League. So in game week 31, Man City played Crystal Palace. The reason why they can't move to 26, as I discussed, is because of Crystal Palace's 2-legged playoff in the Conference League conflicting with game week 26. Also, the reason why game week 31 hasn't been officially announced as a blank game week yet for Man City and Crystal Palace is because it still can happen in game week 31. So while we know exactly what is happening with Arsenal, we don't exactly know what is happening with City and Palace. So just have that noted in the back of your minds. So when I take that into account for my team right now, I've got double Arsenal, Raya and Gabriel, looking for a third, and I've got an injured Bukayo Saka. So we got a couple of different directions that we can go in, and I think it's worth me just bringing up my transfers tab just to show you with a bit of context what things look like. So again, no real flexibility in terms of my money available. And again, it's worth noting Timber is available based on Arteta's press conference. So the first route that I've been looking at is doing Saka to Declan Rice, and that frees up 2.4 million in the bank for my team. Now again, who are the problem players? Well, O'Reilly is a problem. Dorgu is a problem because he is still ruled out. And while I think Lafie is a bit of a problem, I actually think he has become a bit of an unsung hero for me. Maybe I've got a bit of an emotional attachment that I can't seem to part ways with. But when I look at his fixtures coming up, Arsenal is pretty terrible. You can see that in the top right. But then they've got Liverpool in game week 26. Is it the worst case scenario? Sunderland at home, if I play Lafie at home against Liverpool, it really isn't. And then we got Fulham at home in game week 27, which is playable. And then after that, you guys can't see these fixtures, unfortunately, but it's Bournemouth, Leeds, Brighton. Not a bad run afterwards. So I don't think Lafie is a desperate sell. But if I was to go down this route, a couple of things. Firstly, what I could do is do O'Reilly to a Chalobah. That would get me into the Chelsea fixtures coming up, which I think are quite favourable. You can see in the top right, Wolves, Leeds, Burnley. The problem is, after that, and let me put up the fixtures for Chelsea, you can see them in the middle. After that, they've got Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle and Everton. So I would say that the fixtures after this period for Chalobah are not ideal. I'm not buying Chalobah thinking, oh, I want this guy really, really long term. But we also do need to look at game week 31 where there will be a blank if I'm not to use my free hit. So again, if we just focus on game week 31 for a minute, Who's got a really good fixture in game week 31? Well, Fulham, but I already have Anderson in my team. Aston Villa, maybe a Matty Cash as an example. Newcastle against Sunderland, I wouldn't want to touch that game, Jesus. Spurs against Forest, possibly. But really, the fixture of Chelsea's away against Everton is fine. Not great, not bad, fine. So that's one direction that I'm looking at with possibly my team, is bringing in Chalobah for the foreseeable future, selling O'Reilly, and my team would look like this. The great thing about this is it's 1.7 million in the bank, loads of flexibility for the rest of my team. For those that are wondering, just the other problem players down this route, Dorgu would give me 6.7 million. So again, I think that's good. I could go to Chalobah. The problem is then I've got 5 defenders that I actually really like that I think will give me a headache more than anything in the foreseeable future. But one thing I could do is get rid of Dorgu and bring in Hill of Bournemouth. Now, has the home game against Aston Villa. We'll be playing up against Rodgers, which again is not ideal, but good option if I want to keep the structure of the team that I've got. Otherwise, in terms of problem players like we've spoken about, Lafy, 7.3 million available to come into my team. And really, for me, there's 2 options at the price point. Now, again, let's just bring this down to 7.5. Gibbs White is just not a player for me personally. So when we come down to the rest of the options, I think, really, we're looking at Sarr. Ismaila Sarr for me is a really, really good option. With Mateta being out for the foreseeable future, it looks like Sarr is going to be on penalties. The next 3 fixtures are Brighton, Burnley and Wolves. Really good fixtures for him coming in. I actually do quite like him. The problem is we know Mateta, we're kind of asking Strand Larsen to suddenly be a great pick all of a sudden. Is he going to be able to do the same sort of job which Mateta was doing? I don't really know if he's going to be able to do that. It feels almost a week early on Ismaila Sarr. So this midfield spot is giving me a bit of a headache. I do think Anderson isn't a bad pick. Right down the bottom here with his 2 fixtures against Leeds and Wolves. But then after that, I don't really like the fixtures. So it's very much a short-term pick. And the numbers, I know he's a bit of an FPL darling for people where he got the 7-pointer, but I don't really know if I want a player like him, to be honest with you. I really don't know if it's a pick that I want. So that's one direction that my team could go. The other one, and this is the really exciting one. Brian, again, that's a great shout. With the potential Crystal Palace 31 blank, something to consider. The one that's really exciting, I think you guys are going to absolutely love this one, is O'Reilly to Timber, and then Saka to someone like an Mbeumo. And the team would look like this. It is a lot more exciting, this team. The problem is 0 in the bank, and I still have Dorgu, Lafy, Mark Gui, not really much flexibility in the future. And we'll look through these 2 teams in a bit and play out how they would look each and every game week to try and come to some conclusion. But I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an example of where I'm at right now. It's either, and I'll put a poll in the chat in a minute. Let me just put this in. So in both scenarios, I'll be selling, O'Reilly and Saka. So my options are either doing Timber plus Mbeumo and 0 in the bank. And remember, I know you're going to look at Timber and Mbeumo and just be like, yes, that's the better pick. But we have to remember money in the bank is also quite important. Otherwise, we go for someone like a Chalobah plus Rice. And how much money did that give me? Sorry, guys. I'm so bunged up. I know it sounds terrible, the audio. 1.7. Let me know your thoughts in the chat, guys. Both scenarios, selling O'Reilly. Oh, God. O'Reilly and Saka. Let me know in the chat what you would do in that scenario. And again, we could change it up. Mbeumo could be Cunha. Chalobah could be Senesi. Chalobah could be Hill, any of those ones really. Let's get back into the chat. Karaoke, what name, is saying, should I play my bench boost with Dubravka? Good. DCL, good. Hall, not too bad. And Anderson, is that Anderson of Fulham or Anderson of Nottingham Forest? Regardless, yes, I do think that is a bench boostable team. The only thing really you got to consider is maybe do you keep it for future weeks where we might get a future double game week later on in the season, but you are rolling the dice in that scenario. I think that team does look good for a bench boost. Hi Nacho, start Thiago or Ndai. Greetings from Vienna, Austria. Lovely jubbly. Hope you're doing well. So when it comes down to Thiago or Ndai, both penalty takers, I think I would be more tempted to go for Thiago. I think Ndai is one of those where he could do well, but I think Thiago always gets chances. And I just feel like Thiago, if he doesn't get chances, he's kind of stood there to tap the ball in and someone does it before him. So I think I would just lean towards Thiago myself. Jake saying, hi Nacho. Start two of Pickford, Dubravka, Anderson and Ndai. Well, Pickford versus Dubravka is difficult because Everton away from home are not too bad. I probably would go for Pickford. And I get it. You then got Anderson and Ndai, you're leaning towards. Really tricky. Really tricky. But I probably would go for Pickford and Anderson, weirdly enough. Mukiele Senesi, who would you rather have up until game week 31? Well, if we just look at the fixtures right now for both Sunderland and Bournemouth, you can see Bournemouth at top of the ticker. Some really good fixtures along the way. In the meantime, Mukiele at the bottom. So, quite an obvious one. It would be Senesi of the two. Thanks, Astro Bro. Greetings from Colombia. Hope you're doing well. Play Haaland and Semenyo for Ghana and Van Heck, please. Tiger, let me know a bit more context. I'm not too sure on that one. Yes, Scott, that's a really good point. Burnley do look a little bit down and out, whereas Brentford have got a bit more fight about them. So yeah, I'm not against that at all, actually, that kind of logic on that one, mate. Rice would be my third Arsenal. I'm selling Saka, Thiago and Virgil. Already got Bruno. I'd have 6.3 million to replace Virgil van Dijk. Yeah, so I really don't think selling Virgil van Dijk is desperate, but when you look at the fixtures coming up for him, afterwards, Sunderland, Forest, West Ham, Wolves, Tottenham, Brighton, they're okay. I think selling him's fine, but I don't think you have to do it this week. Cunha to Bruno for a hit. Don't love it for a hit. I think Cunha could do well once again. I don't love it for a hit. Should I start Mateus Nunes? Is he a good differential? Well, I think the big question here is, who is the alternative, really? Who is the alternative? David, hi mate. Got 2 free transfers. Would you do Elliot Anderson to Mbeumo or roll? Have Enzo, Rice, Bruno and Wilson already, but a bit of a value in Wilson and don't want to just sell to buy once again once Enzo goes. Yeah, so that's a fair shout. Elliot Anderson to Mbeumo. I mean, if there was ever a time to keep Elliot Anderson, it's now. Because the fixtures coming up are really good for Forest. Leeds, followed by, is it Burnley? Let me just check the ticker a minute. Wolves. So the time's now, but what does that move do for your team? Are you doing that as a straight transfer? If you are, it's a lot of money. Is that going to impact the rest of your team? And to saying play 2 of Semenyo, Anderson, Welbeck and Chawo. Well, I probably would go for Semenyo and Anderson of those bunch. Start Munoz or Senesi. Ooh. I just think if ever I owned Munoz, I'd find it almost impossible to not start him. So it would have to be Munoz. I'd go with João Pedro captain, Bruno Fernandes my vice. Do not mind it. I expect João Pedro to start. Would you sell Neto to Enzo? I don't love Neto. He's touch and go for this weekend as well. Do I like Neto to Enzo for a -4? Not really, but if you have nobody else in your squad to accommodate a Neto benching, then yes, I can get behind it. I could go to Ahmad if I have some funds in the bank, but I think he is just a rotation risk waiting to happen. Right, guys, keep putting your questions in the chat. I just want to go through kind of the dilemma that I have right now and give you a bit of an understanding of where I'm at, why I'm not just doing Timber straight in, because money matters. So let me just show you Timber option and how that looks. So for context, this is what I would probably lean towards, trying to keep that premium midfield slot open for this team. So the team would look like that with 2 free transfers. You can see the moves there. O'Reilly to Timber, Saka to Mbeumo, triple up on Arsenal. Then in game week 26, again, the team would look like this. I would have to play Lafay because really, with 0 in the bank, I don't have a lot of flexibility in this team. I'm not going to be selling any of those 4 midfielders there. Lafay, just no other better player than him at his price point. The defence is obviously fine, and the front 2 are perfectly fine. So the issue is, I won't really be making a move this week. Is there any good options to go to? Hill at Bournemouth as a Dorgu replacement, potentially, but I don't really think it helps my team against Everton that much. So really, I think I would then look to roll my transfer. Remember, game week 26 is a midweek game. So it's not like a week where you desperately want to make a transfer. So I probably would look to roll my transfer here. The issue I have with Sarr, for those that are talking about him as a bit of a no-brainer, is that when you look at the fixtures coming up for them, you can see here, Brighton, Burnley, Wolves, United, Spurs, Leeds. The issue is, between game week 26 and 27, they have got their playoff game in the Conference League. So they're going to be playing, basically, this weekend, midweek, Conference League, Premier League. Conference League again, not ideal. So while I think we all want to have a plan in place for Ismaila Sarr, I also think European football is going to impact Palace negatively. So when we get to game week 27, you can see where the value of Lafay actually lies. He's got a home game against Fulham, which is actually not too bad. And when I look at the fixtures on the right-hand side, really, what am I missing? So I don't have any Brentford against Brighton, which could be good. And once again, this team does lack flexibility. I'd have triple Arsenal against Spurs defensively, and that's fine. But also, could I see Spurs maybe nick a goal? Possibly. Sorry, guys, give me 2 seconds. Apologies, I had my phone on charge. I was just double checking I wasn't missing anything. And then, really, when you look at the rest of my team, it looks okay. I don't really think I'm missing too much in terms of the team. Villa against Leeds, I've already got Rodgers. I've already got Enzo for the Burnley game. Forest against Liverpool, I'm fine to really miss. Palace against Wolves, we already got Richards and we spoke about the European football impact. So I think the team looks okay. So in a weird way, we could get to game week 28 and almost be rolling the transfer up until this moment. But I think this is where transfers would need to be made in order to add some flexibility, because I really do think Ekitike is going to be sticking around in my team for a while. I really like what I'm seeing with his interactions with Florian Wirtz on there. So I don't mind it at all. But the problem again, what keeps happening is flexibility. So Enzo would need to go. And if we look at the fixtures in game week 28 over here, Bournemouth are quite appealing. Maybe there's a Bournemouth option in midfield that we could actually go towards, possibly. Liverpool become an option once again, which I would love to invest in, and possibly maybe even a double up in a Florian Wirtz. But if I was to go there once again and bring in Florian Wirtz in game week 28, which would be kind of my entry point for him, I would need to free up 1.6 million. And I think that money would probably have to come out of Timber. I think that's probably where I would have to take it. So, for example, taking the money out of Timber and kind of accepting it's time to move away from Triple Arsenal in preparation for their blanket 31, it would still give me 4.8 million available, and maybe even someone like a Senesi in this game week. Great opportunity to buy him, Prior to that, he's got West Ham, Everton and Villa. So again, it's okay. But then my team would look like this. Probably start that instead of Richards. And that midfield is to die for, really. Lafido away against Bournemouth, not ideal. And it continues to be a theme where my midfield is probably too heavily invested. But I like what I'm seeing here. I do think it's a good option. Can't really get to Thiago unless I sell Ekitike. Or I don't go for Florian Wirtz. I go for somebody else. And then I upgrade Mark Gui to a Thiago. Oh, apologies. I missed a super chat here from Magic Waddle. What a great name, by the way. Hope you do well, mate. And again, thanks so much for super chat. It's far too generous on that one, mate. So, -4 for Gabriel and bench Chow or Anderson of Fulham. So, have Thiago started against Newcastle and no Brighton in my starting 11, or use the free transfer in game week 26 for Gabs. Okay, so you have Timber and Rice already. So, you've got Timber, Rice, and you need a third. So who are you selling for Gabriel? Let me know in the chat. Obviously, don't put another super chat. Just let me know who you are selling for in that situation. A little bit of context. But in terms of who would I bench between Chow or Anderson, well, it's really difficult because I think they both are the exact same player. They both have home games. They both hit DEFCON. Chow has a bit more attacking threat, I would say, from set pieces. But I probably would lean towards, oh, should be selling Heaven. Wow, what an upgrade that is. As a -4, the problem is, and I will say this, I don't think you need to get -4 because you'll be benching one of the two players who I actually think are not bad at all, Chow or Anderson. So the -4 I really don't think is actually essential. The big thing is going to be, is Gabriel one of those where his price is going to be very close, that if he increases in price, you then are going to miss out. You're going to need him regardless. But could you possibly postpone it until game week 26 for the double and just simply play Chow and Anderson, who both have home games? I think that's probably what I'm leaning towards right now. But let me know, mate, if you have any more kind of like detail about this. I would love to go into a bit more detail. And obviously don't send another super chat on there, buddy. Yes, so you have Thiago against Chow, which is fair. I think that is a good point. Could both do okay. You could have a scenario where Thiago scores and Chow picks up defensive contributions. I think that's fine. What I would say is, I think it's more of a question of, is Chow a player that you want to keep in your team? So if you look at him here, let's say you bench him in game week 25. He's then got Spurs away and then he's got City. So then are you playing him for 26 and 27? I don't know if you are. And then in game week 28, he's got Everton. Then he's got Man United. Then he's got Chelsea. And then he's got Sunderland. So more than anything, I probably will be saying, if you're in a situation where you're starting Thiago and you're happy to start him, and you think to yourself, you know what, I actually don't see Chow being an option for me. Could it not just be Chow leaving your team if you don't see a situation where you're playing him in any of these other weeks? Let me know on that one, buddy. Covered that one. Should I do Saka to Bruno and Tavernier to Rice? I'll have one transfer left. Saka to Bruno, Tavernier to Rice. Love that. Now look, I think Tavernier is actually really good long term because the fixtures are great for Bournemouth. But do I prefer Bruno and Rice? 100%. 100%. Billy, hope you well, mate. Hi, Nacho. Should I bench Chow versus Brentford or Senesi versus Villa? I mean, it's really close. Are you starting Thiago? I probably would lean personally towards Chow because I don't back Bournemouth defensively. Mr. Tobias, hope you're well, mate. Hi, mate. Respect your opinions as always. After the defender transfer for Klein, as don't fancy playing VDV and James, I've considered Gahey, Hill, or Gomez, but don't fancy any others you think. Well, you can get to all of those players, and Gahey's at a price point where he is at 5.2 million. So it all comes down to the fixtures, really. I mean, if you want somebody really cheap. I think Hill's good. I've spoken to people who are Bournemouth fans. It sounds like he's here to stay. I don't think he's looking to leave the team anytime soon. Otherwise, a safer pick might be Senesi. I don't think that's a bad pick either. But when we look at the fixtures coming up, I think the big question is, firstly, do you have your triple Arsenal? Because that has to be a priority for you. I could not bench Rodgers if I owned him personally. I just couldn't bench him. Bruno Fernandes triple captain in future game. Yes, 100%. If Man United somehow lands on a double, then yes. I don't know how likely that is. I would say check out maybe some of these predictors who are way better than I am at these sort of things. But I do think Gabriel has to be a consideration for game week 26, yes. Harrison saying, which two would I start out of Van Heck, Richards and Anderson? Van Heck, Richards and Anderson. Also, is Mainu at 4.6 a consideration? No, Mainu's not a consideration as an FPL option. But with Van Heck, and again, a reminder of the fixtures, Van Heck's fixture is against Crystal Palace. Richards is away against Brighton. I definitely would start Anderson. And then it comes down to Van Heck versus Richards. And I think the situation that Palace are in right now, I probably would lean towards Van Heck myself. Captain, Bruno Fernandes for me is the standout captain. I'm not getting rid of Enzo for anyone that's wondering about that. David. Hi, mate. I've got 2 free transfers. Would you do Elliot Anderson to Mbeumo or roll? Have Enzo, Rice, Bruno? I feel like I've covered this one. So Anderson to Mbeumo is obviously a great move. But it all comes down to your squad structure. So, like, is that going to negatively impact other moves? That's the other thing. Like, Anderson to Mbeumo, such a big jump up. Does it give you limited flexibility in the rest of your team? Thoughts of benching Haaland? Abdul, I think it's not brave, but I just think it's hard to bench somebody at that price point. Yeah, so Magic Water, game week 31, Chow might be needed, which is absolutely fine. He might be needed in that particular game week, for sure. In terms of his fixture, Sunderland at home. I don't love the fixture myself. So, I would say this. Go over to something like a Plan FPL or something, pump your team in, run your team through each week and say to yourself, what scenarios am I playing Chow? Because if you run it through and you go, well, I'm benching him here because I've got Thiago. I'm not playing him against Spurs. I'm not playing him against City. I'll play him against Everton. I'll play him against United, but I think he'll concede. And I'll play him against Chelsea. Then, yeah, happy days. Keep him. Do the heaven move. Otherwise, I think you could just roll the transfer this week and then bring in Gabriel for game week 26. Okay, so I've covered off this here, which is a reminder, the O'Reilly to Timber move and the Saka to Mbeumo move. That for me is like the move which is like, that just looks fantastic and I would like to do it, obviously. But you can see, game week 26, I can definitely get by without making a transfer. I know Lafille has got that game against Liverpool, but when I look at the fixtures, like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on too much. So I feel content. And then game week 27, like we discussed, I'll have 2 free transfers. And who knows what will happen between now and then. I think the problem is sometimes people get too tied down on a plan. And all of a sudden, you get to game week 27 like me. And I'm like, but what am I going to do? Everybody looks great. All it takes is an injury. All it takes is Ekitike getting injured. And I'm like, oh, cool. Ekitike to Thiago. And it frees up 1.5 million. And my team suddenly looks fantastic. So I wouldn't panic too much about long-term plans. You can always find a way out of it. So the other alternative move, the one that I'll be speaking about, is doing Saka to Rice. So bringing in Rice, and obviously in the meantime benching Lafille. And then I got 1 free transfer. And like we said, who are the problem players? Well, if you look at my actual team right now, if I rolled this out, I have no idea whether O'Reilly plays, and I still think he's a bit of a problem. The enigma of O'Reilly is, and I need to check actually on Twitter, This FPL is a very good predictor, but I think he may have hung up his predicting days. And the problem is, if I personally think he starts against Liverpool, do I actually have any idea whether he's going to start in game week 26 against Fulham, the game that I really want him in? I think I'm going to continually be in a situation where I'm thinking to myself, do I have O'Reilly this week? And I don't really know if I want that problem. So O'Reilly's a problem. Lafie's a problem, but we spoke about how he does actually offer some value. And of course, Dorgu is a big problem as well. So what I could do is, just a reminder, just to give you guys some context, I can afford any defender if I go for O'Reilly out. In terms of Lafie, I can go up to 7.3 million. And in terms of Dorgu, I can go to 6.7, so pretty much everybody. And if I sell Mark Gui, I can get to 6.6, so I can't get to Thiago as an example. So could I just roll this team out? Yes, but I don't love it. I think I would like to just get rid of my problem player in O'Reilly, or do Dorgu out to a cheap enabler like a Hill, but he would be then playing against Aston Villa, which is not an ideal scenario to be in, I don't think. So let's say we do the most expensive transfer, and that's bringing in Chalobah for the next 3 game weeks. The team would look like this. Then in game week 26, I would have 1 free transfer, and really, I don't think I'd be wanting to make a transfer in this week, but I would have 1.7 million in the bank. So something that I could do if I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm getting him in, is bringing in Ismail Assar for Lafie, getting rid of my hero, and doing something like that. While that looks great, we need to remind ourselves, Conference League playoff, and also we have got the blank game week potentially for Crystal Palace. So while that's fine, as of right now, I've got 5 players that blank in game week 31. Not ideal. But the team could look like this if I wanted to make that particular move of Lafie to Sarr. And the rest of the team looks really strong. And then in game week 27, my team would look like this. Chalobah, Gabriel Richards, Sarr, Rice, Enzo, Rogers, Bruno Fernandes, Haaland, Ekitike. And when we look at the fixtures, who am I missing? Not much. I'm not really missing much at all for this particular week. So I think game week 27 becomes a very easy roll, to be honest. Then when we get to game week 28, this is where the problems do start to arise, because Chelsea's fixtures do start to turn quite sour. And also it's worth noting in this scenario, I would be having Crystal Palace players where I don't really think they're offering a lot of value. So by default, the team would do this. I think Chalobah to Senesi would be on the cards, and that would free up a lot of funds and some decent fixtures coming up. Sunderland, Brentford, Burnley, just to name a few. So I don't think that's too bad. Anderson at home against Spurs. Really then, the problem is going to be Enzo and Sarr, and only 1 additional transfer to sort this situation out. So yeah, I think that is the big situation right now. Now, there's a good point there about maybe giving my team some depth there by Brian and saying about actually doing Dorgu out to... I mean, I could go to Chalobah, but let's say I go to Senesi as a long-term play, and then we go for Saka out to Rice. How would that play out in my team? So the team would look like that. Not ideal Bournemouth playing against Aston Villa. Then in game week 26, O'Reilly comes in and you just pray that he plays that particular game. And it means I can bench Lafie then. Imagine Lafie actually does well in that game, I'll be fuming. And I still got 1.9 million in the bank, it's worth noting. And then in game week 27, the team would look like this. Senesi away against West Ham, it is what it is. O'Reilly, we can assess in that moment whether he is actually viable. But again, if I wanted to, I could sell Lafie and go to Sarr, or I could simply keep him for that Fulham game and stash away anybody in this team if I wanted to. Could even do that. I just think the Rice play just opens up a bit more in my team. And I do agree, Dorgu being out maybe is the play. Something that I could consider, and just getting loads of money freed up in the side, is possibly just go into Hill. super cheap. I don't think he's going to lose his place. That might be actually a better play. And going for something like that. Bringing in Hill. I've got 2.8 million in the bank then, which is quite a nice place to be in. And what it does allow me to do actually is, if I get to game week 27, I could possibly, with 2 transfers, bring in Thiago. 0.1 million short. But I could possibly get Thiago in. But who would I bench? So yeah, some thoughts. I need to get my team sorted before I come off this stream, 100%. Hello, Nacho. I've got a gut feeling about Bruno G. Thoughts? Marley, if your gut feeling is about him being a doubt, then that is your gut feeling, because I do not think he is anybody that we could be considered buying right now. At all. Way too much risk in regards to him. Sorry, I was just checking to see if there is anything out right now. I don't think there is. Just seeing if there's any news on Twitter regarding anything, but I don't think there is at all. Thoughts on benching Haaland? I think that's very brave. I think it is still with his ownership. Sorry guys, I was just checking up to see if there was anything on Twitter. That was all. Apologies. So we have got start for Verbruggen or Dubravka. Well, again, a reminder of the fixtures quickly for anybody. In terms of Dubravka, they got the home game against Palace. Sorry, Verbruggen's got the home game against Palace, and then we got Dubravka against West Ham. I think I'd be tempted, funny enough, to go for Verbruggen. I can't be tempted to go for Verbruggen. Would I sell Rodgers for Wirtz for -4? No, I would not do that. I do think there are good fixtures coming up. Best cheap defender other than Anderson? Well, like we said, I think Hill at Bournemouth is actually offering great value. If we get up the fixtures a minute, if we get up Hill as a pick, it just feels like unlucky if Hill suddenly loses his spot, because he's played 90 minutes since game week 19 and he's ticked over really nicely. He's hit defensive contributions in all but one of the games, so really solid numbers. Again, we're not expecting him to score or anything, but he's been really consistent in this side. Transfer Sanchez in for Becker, not the best start. Do you think Sanchez is a good option moving forward in regards to Chelsea clean sheet? Yep, Sanchez is definitely the go-to goalkeeper right now. He has done well under Liam Rosenior. Would you bench Wilson or Thiago? Could be a big swing. Agree, it could be a big swing. I mean, I'd always lean towards the penalty taker, which is going to be Thiago, but I do think Wilson has slightly the better fixture. If I had to pick one, I probably would go for the home game of Wilson, but I get Thiago's ownership is big. Bench Thiago, Evan Nielsen or Rodgers. Again, I think it's very hard to not go for... I probably would bench Thiago again, but I get it. The ownership is big. That is the issue. Transfer Dorgu to Senesi or Tavernier to Anderson. I mean, Tavernier's still ticking over, isn't he? Is he still not? Oh no, Tavernier has a hamstring injury. I do apologise. So I would be prioritising probably... I'd almost be tempted to do Dorgu to Senesi, with Tavernier being a placeholder for somebody a bit more exciting in that midfield. What do you think of me captaining Gabriel as a differential? Liam, I do not hate it at all. At all. Again, guys, keep putting your questions in the chat. I'm going to try and get through all of them before we wrap up. And I need to try and make my team sorted. I really do need to get my team actually concluded what I'm doing. Do we love the triple up in defence? What's everyone's thoughts? Let me know in the chat. What are your thoughts on triple defence? I've seen a lot of people go in there. I like it, but there's part of me also that just thinks no as well. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Do we love Mbeumo? Do we love Mbeumo? I don't really like Sarr as of this week yet, personally, for those that are wondering. Start Collins or Goodmanson. Oof. Start Collins or Goodmanson. I think I would go for Goodmanson. Home game, that is the route that I would go for personally. I would go for Goodmanson. Would you think a -4? Gui to João Pedro and bench boost to Bravka and Dye, Rodon and Tarkowski. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. If you want to get the bench boost out of the way, I don't think that is a bad play at all. Bench 1, Haaland, Elliot Anderson, Evan Nielsen, Timber or Chalobah. Well, you have to start Timber. You have to start Chalobah. I personally think you have to start Haaland. Elliot Anderson versus Evan Nielsen. Look, I think Anderson probably does outscore Evan Nielsen. When's the last time Evan Nielsen scored a goal? I mean, he's so hit and miss, isn't he? I find it very difficult on that one. I probably would lean towards benching Anderson, but I get it. I get it why people love him, because he just gets points for no reason, basically. Just ended that, that poll, because it was kind of pointless. Because it was so long ago I put it up. So yeah, I kind of need to conclude what I'm doing there, guys. I think this is probably the route that I'm thinking, Saka to Rice. But then it comes down to really what is the best play for the rest of the team. Is it going, I think if I get in Chalobah, I have to sell O'Reilly. Because it makes no sense me doing Dorgu to somebody like that. And if we look at the fixtures coming up, Bournemouth are looking good, but I actually don't see any clean sheets in the next 4. Maybe at all. Maybe at all. I've already got Arsenal, I've already got Fulham. You can see why I like the Timber move, in the sense of it just gets me a defender that I want, and it gets me a midfielder that I like. I know it doesn't give me any flexibility, this play. To Mbeumo. Do we love Mbeumo? I do like Mbeumo. It doesn't give me lots of flexibility. But then if we go into game week 26, how much flexibility do we truly need? Like this week, for example, in game week 26, midweek game. If we look at the team here, O'Reilly to Timber, Saka to Mbeumo. The team looks good, and the great thing about this is that Mbeumo kind of sits there as a placeholder. Agree. Triple defense is quite a scary prospect. You are basically just saying, like, this is the play. And we need to remind ourselves here. Let me see if I've got the slide. Oh, I do have the slide. Okay, so for those that are in my scenario right now, let's just talk about this. Arsenal players. So why is everybody going Arsenal? Because they got a double in 26 and they got good fixtures. I would say they're mixed fixtures, but they're good enough to go there. So a few notes. Gabriel's essential. Gabriel is just essential. Not even putting him in this list. One of your 3 should be Gabriel. Now, in terms of the rest of the picks, Raya for me is the really easy pick. The reason being is, if you have no plan of free hitting in game week 31, what you could do is just bench Raya and have a playing goalkeeper to play in game week 31. Whereas if you go for an outfield player at Arsenal and have 3 of them, you've got 3 players in your outfield that basically are going to be obviously blanking, more difficult. So Raya is a really safe, boring way to get guaranteed minutes. Saliba for me is just a no-go. Yes, he is 6 million, I get it, but literally 0 XGI per 90. He doesn't hit DEFCON and he's got 4 bonus all season. He is just not worth buying at all. In terms of Timber, 2 goals, 4 assists, 0.25 expected goal involvement per 90. Really good. Doesn't hit DEFCON and he's hit bonus 7 times. Whereas when we look at Declan Rice, 4 goals, 7 assists, 0.36 expected goal involvement per 90. 10.76 defcon per 90. So he's hitting defcon on the regular and he's got 18 bonus. I always said to myself, whenever I had the opportunity to buy Rice, get Rice. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to do it. I said to myself since day one, I always built wildcard teams and I said, whenever you have a chance to get Rice, get Rice. What am I doing? Let's just do it. What am I doing? I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just doing it. Out Saka, in Rice, done. Wow. That was... that was reactionary then. I don't know what just happened then, but I've just done a transfer. Just done a transfer. Okay, so as you can see, I've just gone into this other realm all of a sudden where I've just spoken to myself and probably quite crazily told myself to go for Rice, and it's done. It's done. Don't know how that happened, but it's done. I'm going to put the vice captain on. Okay, so Rice is in all of a sudden. I've been deliberating all week, and in the space of 10 seconds, I have bought Declan Rice. So that's happened. So now it comes down to my second transfer because I cannot be keeping my team like this. So let's go back to the Arsenal thing. I thought that was quite valuable for those that are deliberating it. All in all, triple Arsenal is great, but Rice is so steady. Is so steady. So I think he's great. Now, in terms of Man United, I should have probably done this slide first. I should have probably done this slide first just to convince myself to buy Mbeumo. Because Mbeumo looks fantastic as well. So when we look at the numbers here, over the last 4 league matches, because we have such a small sample size since Man United have played in this formation and since Carrick has been in charge. So we've got to take everything with a pinch of salt. But as we know, Mbeumo's played as a 9 in certain games. He's been an early sub, excluding game week 24. But I think he is going to cement himself eventually as kind of like the go-to guy again alongside Bruno in that. The numbers are good. 0.64 expected goal involvement per 90 minutes. That's solid numbers. And it's only slightly better than that of Bruno Fernandes. And Mbeumo's had less minutes. Of course, it's easier to do better over less minutes, but still, nonetheless, Mbeumo has been good and he's getting big chances. When we look at Bruno Fernandes' numbers, most of his expected goal involvement is coming through creativity, whereas Mbeumo is all about goal threat. 0.54 expected goals per 90 minutes. Now, when we come back to my team, I know it sounds ridiculous, but part of me wants to just sell Rodgers. But it just feels stupid. Like, the reason why I'm saying it is I've got 2.4 million in the bank. If we look at my team here and you go, oh God. But I can't believe how spontaneously I just bought Declan Rice then, but it is what it is now. It's done. It feels quite nice to be done with that. So the reason why I'm deliberating this, and it doesn't really help the rest of my team, to be honest with you, this is the issue, is I quite like Rodgers to Mbeumo. I quite like Rodgers to Mbeumo. I just don't know if I rate Rodgers as a pick anymore. And it allows me then to still have 1.5 million in the bank. But the problem is the team doesn't really get addressed this week. That's the big issue. But this team fills me with a lot of confidence in general. In general. But it doesn't help the overall team. So I kind of got to just be done with it. But that is tempting. And it still gives me 1.5 million in the bank. Damien saying my son is in the top 4,000 and top 40 in Northern Ireland. Way to go. Bloody hell. Should he continue to go for differential captains like Mbeumo this week, or stay safe and go with Haaland? Damien, how can I make a comment on that when your son is top 4,000? Whatever he's doing is working. Stick with that. That is the main advice here. Whatever he is doing, he's clearly enjoying it and he's clearly getting it right. Does that mean he's going to get it right every week? No. Now look, do I think going for Haaland's the safe play? I don't even know if it is, because I don't really know how many people are going to be brave enough to go there. He's been sold by thousands and it's Liverpool away. Do I think they could get chances? 100%. But I quite like the Mbeumo play, I'm going to be honest. He's got to do whatever he is doing because it's working. And it's easier then if things do go wrong, because I've been in a situation myself where I've had a great rank and I've started to be safe and I've started to do things that I previously wasn't doing to get me at my rank. And then I looked at myself and go, why have you changed it up just because of your rank? Keep doing what you're doing. So that's the big advice here. You can't predict what's going to happen. You could go in Mbeumo, he gets injured after 10 minutes and Haaland bags a hat-trick. But if he's been in a situation where he's been going for nice fun picks, keep doing that. That's part of the game. And I do think Mbeumo is right up there alongside, well, I'm going to say above Haaland. I'm going to say he's above Haaland for this week. I'm giving serious thought of dropping Haaland to the bench instead of fully rested Thiago against a tired Newcastle team. What do you think? Look, I don't mind it. Am I brave enough to bench Haaland? No. But if you are, then I am not against it at all. I love the bravery going there. We need this game to be shaken up, so I don't mind that at all if you want to go down that direction. Damien, he had one bad game week, 29 points, and started to panic. Yeah, that's the thing really, isn't it? It's like, it does take one bad game week, and you almost need a bad game week to remind yourself sometimes that, oh, wait a minute, I can't control what players do. And sometimes that's the most humbling thing ever, because anyone that's been a regular on this channel will know that I've just always been about how it's all well and good us thinking we're in control. We literally aren't. We're not in control at all. So we do our best to select the players, and if you have a bad game week, it is what it is. Tell your son to keep going. He's smashing it. And importantly, go with his gut. Go with his gut, because that's probably what's got him to this position right now. And remember, bad game weeks happen. They always happen. I've had about 20 of them this week, this season, it seems. So, yeah, David, tell him to be smashing it. And obviously, any other questions, let me know. But I love the idea of going for Mbeumo myself. Bench one of Krupi, Senesi, Hall, or Rodon. That is tough. That is very, 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 very tough. I don't really know on this one. I probably would go for Senesi over Hall because of the defensive contributions. So by that logic, I probably would bench Hall. Krupp is quite an exciting pick right now, isn't it? He's scoring every time he plays, it seems. Mythic, hope you're doing well, 1875. Is bench boost a good idea if all your players are decent games? Folks say double game week, but unsure. Yeah, so this is it really. Double game week 26, but it doesn't really help anybody because it's literally two teams that double, and one of those are Wolves. So it doesn't really help. Really, it comes down to, will we get a double game week in the second half of the season, like the second half of the second half? And the big thing is we don't really know. I think the bench boost is massively overrated, I'm just going to say, because you have to stash away loads of money in your team to prepare for a bench boost, and your overall squad looks quite weak. So if you're in a position right now where your bench actually looks great, then I'm not against just getting out of the way. And then it means that you can then, for the foreseeable future, have a crap bench and pump all your money in the 11. So I'm not against it. I mean, I can't believe you got a good bench, because look at mine. Bloody awful. Start Hill or Dalot? Ooh. Is Dalot... Sorry, like, I've been focusing too much on Man United attackers that I haven't really been focusing on Man United defenders. So what's the actual scenario right now regarding their defence? Who has been starting at right back? It has been... I'm assuming Dalot for you to be asking that question. Yeah. Dalot against Spurs or Hill against Villa. I probably would be tempted by Dalot, But let's just remind ourselves a few things, because FPL is very different this year, isn't it? So, Dalot, in this right-back position, has started the last 4. I think Burnley was an interim game, Carrick over the last 3. His DEFCON has been 808, so I can't believe he hadn't hit any DEFCON against Arsenal. That's weird. And in terms of expected goal involvement, he's always been pretty poor, hasn't he? In terms of Hill, I would say the fixture is equally difficult, but the good thing about him is that he's hitting DEFCON very regularly. I think Dalot's probably the more fun play. Yeah, I think Dalot's probably the more fun play. Hi, thoughts on Szoboszlai to Anderson of Forest? Yeah, I don't mind that. It's either that or you go for someone like Sarr at Crystal Palace and you go a bit more exciting with your pick. But Szoboszlai is a really good chance he plays at right back with the injuries to Frimpong and Bradley. Yeah, in Buemo captain, I'm absolutely fine with that. I do not hate that at all. Again, guys, a reminder, the deadline is today, 6:30 PM UK time. I have made one of my moves and I'm trying to figure out what to do with my other one right now, because it makes a lot of sense me making a transfer. It really does. It's just figuring out what is the more priority right now. So, start Anderson or Ndai. I mean, Ndai's on penalties, so I probably would. I think I do prefer Ndai, but I think Anderson is more predictable of what returns he is going to get. Probably hit DEFCON, and would I be surprised if he does get defensive contributions or a clean sheet? No, not at all. When do you sell Haaland? It's difficult because look at the fixtures coming up. I know this is O'Reilly, but then they got Fulham and then they got Newcastle. We're all talking about how terrible Newcastle are. So I just think you just got to rip the Band-Aid at some point, but I just don't know when that is going to be honest with you. So look, I need to sort the rest of my team. Apologies. So let me just put up my ticker. So what have I done? I've already sold Saka to Rice. So where is the most upside right now in this team? So I think O'Reilly offers value, but how much value, I don't know. So what I could do is I could keep him for 1 week and just get a nice easy pick like Hill on the bench, and he comes in for O'Reilly. And the team looks like that. It gives me 2.8 million in the bank, which is really strong. Then in game week 26, and remember, Dorgu is a player that needs to be sold regardless. Then in game week 26, the team looks good if O'Reilly is part of that. And again, I can remind myself here that, you know, if O'Reilly doesn't play, then he doesn't play. It is what it is. And I think Lafay could easily come into this team if I want him. But what selling Dorgu does is it gives me a playing player in Hill. And if he suddenly becomes an issue, he's the cheapest defender. I can stash him away on my bench once again. So, game week 26 will look like this. It's fine. It's fine. Again, the fixtures look like this. Chelsea is the issue. It's Hill versus Chalobah, really. Chalobah is a lot more money, and it doesn't give me all this cash in the bank. But what does 2.8 million do? It's all well and good sitting here going, I've got 2.8 million, but what am I really doing with that money? That is the big question. So this here, I don't think I need to make a move, to be honest with you, this week. Munoz could be a temptation. If we get rumours that O'Reilly could be out, maybe an O'Reilly to a Munoz could be quite an interesting move and go double Palace, but I don't love the idea of being double down on Palace, who could blank in game week 31, which is not ideal. No, I think Bruno Fernandes is a better captain than Gabriel. And should I keep Matheus Nunes? Is he a good differential? I just don't see clean sheets for City consistently. So I don't think he's a desperate sell, because similar to myself, if you can stash him away for this week and then play him in 26, there is value in Matheus Nunes. So game week 26 will look like this. I'll be playing Hill once again. But worst case, if I'm worried Hill's minutes are bad, Lafay comes in. But again, what am I missing this week? And it's midweek. I don't have a Chelsea defender, is what it is. I don't have double Man United, but don't have Elliot Anderson. But again, I could buy him if I wanted to in that week with the money available. So I think I'm happy to roll that out. And then in game week 27, again, if O'Reilly's available, that's fine. Lafie could easily play here, and I could stash Hill away. And the team looks pretty good for game week 27 once again. But remember, I've got 2.8 million in the bank. So if we get to this game week and I say to myself, you know what, it's time to pull the trigger and bring in Thiago. Like I said, I'll be very close to Thiago here. That I could do Mark Gui to Thiago and then take some money out of another player in this team. A reminder, Brentford have got Brighton. And when you look at the fixtures coming up for Brentford around game week 28 onwards, they are around here. They have got, 27. They've got Brighton. I can let that slide. But then they've got Burnley, Bournemouth, Wolves, Leeds. Some decent fixtures after that. So I do think that's not bad. So in game week 27, I'm going to say it. I honestly think I could roll the transfer once again if things do align. I don't have Brentford. I've got Enzo for that fixture. No defensive coverage. We got Rodgers. We got Haaland, which I think is a good fixture there. Ekatike, don't need anything else. I've got Richards, and I could buy anybody for that fixture if I really wanted it. But remember, Europa League, Conference League, playoff is important to note there. But game week 28 feels like a really important week to have free transfers available. I really do believe that. And this is why I'm thinking the cheap option is the best option for me. I really do believe that. Because how could this team look? How could this team differ? Well, let's say some exciting moves here. Something that I could do very easily in game week 28 is look at the fixtures and go, right, I want Thiago and I want Florian Wirtz. Is there any way of me getting both of those players in? Probably not. So it comes down to the priority. Well, probably it is going to be Thiago, but I could easily get to certain players with this cash. So Mark Gui to Thiago, for example. And I would need 0.1 million. If things go my way, I could just make that transfer as it is. But one thing that I could do is look to sell Enzo, who becomes a problem. And I've got 6.6 million in the bank. And when we look at game week 28 fixtures, who goes top of the ticker in game week 28? Liverpool, Villa, Brentford. So possibly a double up on Brentford could be a possible option. But we need to know who plays in game week 31 that has a good fixture. Villa, Fulham, Spurs, some okay teams. But Liverpool would be the priority. But hopefully by that game week, we can understand who is the player. Because if I want to go Wirtz, very difficult to afford him. Very difficult to afford him. It probably would require me taking out Declan Rice as well. And going down to a cheap enabler. And in that particular week, it probably would look like, let me just get it up. A cheap enabling midfielder over this period. Utara? Possibly. Something like that could be viable 100% in game week 28. Hill continues to be a hero in this team each and every week. If he loses his place, he loses his place. It is what it is. Okay. I think I'm going to bring in Hill. What are your thoughts, guys? Let me know. Let's go through some of the chat a minute before we wrap this stream up. Thoughts on Szoboszlai to Anderson of Forest. Hi, thoughts on Szoboszlai to Anderson of Forest. Yeah. Szoboszlai playing in defence possibly makes Anderson a very good option as a rotation. By the way, guys, I personally don't believe, what is it? That Hill is a rotation risk, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Let me just quickly check online. Is there any Bournemouth fans out there? If you could just let me know whether Hill is a rotation risk, that would be great. Just typing in right now on X, Hill FPL, just to see if anybody is really there. Again, the problem is this week is that if I make the move to Hill, just looking right now. Yeah, I think Hill's probably a good buy. I think Senesi's also quite interesting, it's worth noting. But I think it does... Yeah, DZ, I do agree. But DZ, Chalobah in my team... I agree. Weirdly, I can't sell... Hang on. If we go down the route that you mentioned about Chalobah, like O'Reilly to Chalobah, for example, I'm not really addressing the situation. So, you know, I still have the issue there. And if I do Dorgu to Senesi, it's a lot more money that eats up into my budget. And then I'm sat there with 5 defenders effectively. So then in game week 26, the team looks like this, which is fine. But realistically, Lafille would have to play, where this is where Dorgu helps out in that scenario. But then when we get to this week, Chalobah needs to go. I don't know if I want to be making a defensive transfer over this week when I think the priority is going to be selling Enzo. It's going to be selling somebody else. Start Krupi Jr. or KDH. I probably would start Krupi myself. Got Wilson in midfield. Should I start Raul 2 or bench him for Thiago? I think I would start Thiago myself. Yeah, Brian, I think Hill's just like an option where it's just going to open up the game for me a lot. It's going to open up the game a lot for me. I don't really see the difference between Hill and Senesi personally. Like, Hill's playing well. I don't really see why he's going to lose his place. So part of me thinks just get it done. But the issue is obviously this particular week doesn't look fantastic for Hill. That is the big issue. I'm bringing in somebody who I'm not expecting to get a clean sheet from. So that is the only big problem with the team. Christ, I just saw the time, guys. I do apologise. I have to wrap it up. I am so sorry. I got to go because I got to go do a lift for somebody. So, guys, thank you so much. I have made a transfer. And that is that there. Rice is in for Saka. And the last piece of the puzzle is probably going to be Dorgu to Hill. And then hopefully have O'Reilly as an option in game week 26 with that home game. So that's the plan. And that's it, really. Like I said, in terms of defenders this week, I don't really think there are many clean sheets to be had. And also, when I look at the fixtures coming up, defensively... Sorry, that is not the right week. If I look at it defensively, I mean, I'm not buying City. Chelsea, as we've spoken about, but after game week 27, they're a sell. So you're basically buying Chalobah for 3 to then sell. Don't really love that when I got to sell Arsenal players and all those sort of players. Fulham I own. Burnley I'm not touching. United I'm not touching defensively. Villa I don't really love the idea of. So I think all roads lead back to Bournemouth, really, and they kind of stay quite good for a while. And then when you have Hill, you can just stash him away for the foreseeable. So I'm going to roll the dice on Hill, I think. So my plan is to do Dorgu to Hill, keep O'Reilly for one more week, hope that he gets availability for game week 26. And if he doesn't make himself available for game week 26, just so I know this off the top of my head, if we do restore and then we do that to Hill, worst case scenario, in game week 26, if O'Reilly is a huge rotation risk, then I play Hill. It is what it is. I play Hill there. I think that's the play. Perfect. Right, guys, I do apologise. I need to wrap it up now. Have an amazing game week. Obviously, it's a Friday deadline, so do not be missing that. I got a dash now, but have an amazing weekend. I'll probably do a video tomorrow morning, actually, doing some transfer plans for game week 26, because if you didn't know, the deadline is Tuesday, so we got a quick turnaround. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Kelleher, Verbruggen. I probably will go for the home team in Verbruggen on that one. Take care, guys. Have an amazing one, and I will see you